Can we just breathe for a minute? I feel like that took me an hour
Take a deep breath,
to
baby.
get that out.
Everybody
I don't know
pause.
why that was so scary. Can you
Well,
imagine me
I
trying
think
to journal that?
Took you 4 years to get all that
Right?
out.
That's
and
how I journal too. I feel like I have to like
Give all these excuses and caviats of why you're feeling. Yeah,
That's a total trauma response.
it is a total.
It doesn't
trauma
make
response.
sense unless I can articulate every detail.
Right. Your emotions and feelings have to have an explanation.
Yes.
It can never simply be because somebody else was an asshole.
You're like, I need a yes or no. I'm like, it's not that simple. I can't.
We'll make it out and fall in love tonight.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Right off the bat, here we go.
Do you remember when we were driving in the car?
Yes.
That's
Multiple
it,
occasions.
right? You got it figured out now?
Next question.
Next question. Cool.
Yes.
Do you remember when we were standing? No. The other day when we were driving in the car, I don't remember if we were going to yoga or jitsu or something, right? We
Okay.
were going somewhere. And I told you about how I've started journaling differently,
Yes.
right?
Yes, I remember.
Where you got to stop kicking the floor, silly goose.
Am I kicking the... Oh.
Yeah, you're frog stomping over there. Steph just wants to line dance today. She just wants to get into it and start the line dancing.
We were going to yoga.
Were we going to yoga?
That's how clearly I remember.
So Steph asked me if there was something that I'm healing right now, something that I'm doing on my healing journey in the path of growth and development that she didn't know about, right? Mm-hmm. Something that I hadn't shared with you yet. It was a secret.
It was a secret.
It was top secret. And what I told her was I have started to journal differently. So every morning I have this journal practice where I'll wake up and typically it takes me less than 10 minutes, right? And in the process of journaling, there's usually like about half a page of what you would typically think of as, or at least what I typically think of as journaling, where it's what's going on in my life, what am I feeling in the moment, what's coming up for me. And then I have like mantras, positive reinforcements, positive affirmations that I'll write, and then some other things, some future casting things for us in our future and everything like that. So it's the same process every single day. And 75% of what I'm writing in the journal is quite literally the same thing every single day. I'm Bart Simpson on the chalkboard, writing my mantras and writing everything else out the same way every day, helping to reprogram the little neural pathways of my brain. But that first part of the journal, the 25% of the part that I'm writing, the journal entry, is, like I said, what's coming up for me, right? Up until recently, and this is like 2 weeks recently, right? This is really, really recent change and shift. I would be in the process of sitting there writing and trying to think about what to write. And I would say, like in my head, I'm going to share with you the thought process.
Okay.
So this is like tapping into Craig's brain in the moment. And these are the thoughts that come into my head. Should I write about that? No, don't write about that. Stephanie will read that one day. What about this? No, don't write about that because the kids might read that one day. What if I write about this? And they're like, well, you can write about that, but don't write about that one part. Or if you write about that, then make sure to add in this other part so that you can explain that part. And I would go in circles trying to come up with what I was writing in my journal, right? The sole purpose of the journal is for me to be able to have a space where I can write things and process things. And I would get stuck in that over and over and over again and not be writing the truth of what I was experiencing and going through. I was tailoring and editing my own journal because I had this notion that you or the kids or somebody might read it someday in the future, right? I have this glorified vision in my brain. Like there's a bunch of different versions of this story in my head where one of them is I die and you're spending the next 3 months reading all of my journals because you just want to hear my thoughts and connect with me. So you're getting this tailored version of my life through the lens of what I expected to happen after I pass away and after I die. That's fucked up. I don't think that's fucked up necessarily, but I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I don't want to do that. And then the other version is you just snagging it at some point, or, you know, the kids coming across it and reading it at some point or something like that. Mind you, like our youngest is 18 and in the not too distant future will probably be moving out on his own. All of our other kids are like out living their whole lives on their own. They don't live with us anymore, right? And this is still the stuff that I find myself stuck in. So when I had this awareness and I really started to shift it up and start writing what I wanted to write, it's surprisingly hard. It's surprisingly hard to be honest about mostly it's about what I'm thinking. Like, it's a place for me to process thoughts free from judgment, even though I'm the biggest critic of, nobody's more critical than me, right? So I'm super judgmental of myself, but it is surprisingly really difficult and really hard. And I thought we could talk about it a little bit up front on this episode, because I know that you can relate. We talked in the day that we were driving and this all came up and you were like, oh my gosh, I totally do this thing too. And so I wanted to explore it a little bit more and see why and how, and, because I'm like, if you do it and I do it, then there's a good chance that they do
We're
it as well.
not the only
right?
ones.
There's a good chance that it's a
Right?
very common thing. And I think it's really interesting. And so my curiosity is, I'm going to pose a question to you, babe, is how much do you think it is trauma based?
Okay.
Because there's some part of it that is like, I'm afraid I'm going to get in trouble, right? And how much of it do you think is like, like I also shared with you too, oh my goodness, the story about being in elementary school and having to write in a journal as part of your grade and the thing that you do every day. And then my teacher reading all of those journal entries. And I'm 100% certain she wasn't reading the journal entries.
Right.
She's going through and, looks like Craig did his journal entry
I
for
see
the day.
stuff on a page.
Check it off, right?
Check.
And so I don't know if it's that or if it's trauma, or I just wanted to see what your thoughts were more. Because we didn't talk a ton about it, even though, we eventually got to yoga and had shit to do.
We talked about yours a bit because it was a big deal. What you said made total sense. Like, that would absolutely be an imprint. Your first journaling experiences it's going to be looked at, it's going to be reviewed, it's going to be graded, it's going to be either I wrote too much or not enough, or why are you writing this, or why didn't you? Everything came from your very first journaling experience is from a critical place. And that's not saying this is a traumatic thing that teachers should let. That's not it.
No, I think it's time to punish my fourth grade teacher.
Right? Listen, lady.
Mrs. C, I got something I need to
it's
bring up
Mrs.
with
C?
you. It's not the same Mrs. C that you're thinking
okay. I'm
of.
like, I thought we loved Mrs. C.
We do. I had two Mrs. C's for teaching.
All Mrs. C's are not created equal.
Go ahead, keep going.
So that totally makes sense. I remember having to journal stuff as well, and there is that that critical nature that came. Are you doing this stuff? And that's just understand. It's just a part of learning. Practice writing, all of this stuff that's going through. But it makes complete sense that the first experience is, this is I don't have anonymity here. This this isn't just for me. It's going to be looked at. It might be shared with the class. It's going to be graded. It's going to be criticized and judged. And then you move on to where you start writing deeper stuff. You start at adulthood where you maybe don't have privacy in the house and maybe other people have got a hold of it. So I have the same grade school experience with that. But I also have the traumatic of my privacy being violated. My privacy being violated. I remember I used to have journals, and I had somebody do that. And it was even...
When you say that, you mean read your journal?
Read my journal.
Okay.
And it was even stuff that, the thing was, it had nothing to do... It was before that relationship started. It had nothing to do with that. They read stuff about my past that they then physically punished me for. So it was this whole thing, and then I destroyed it and was just we're done with that, and then got punished. What if your kids want to read that someday? So I'm I'm never journaling again. Fuck this. So there's a lot there, which is why it didn't even occur to me that it was a thing, until you're I edit in my own journal, I do this. I'm it didn't even, I did it so naturally that it didn't even like, I wasn't like, man, I wish I could really write it just was
That
like,
was just journaling to
that
you?
was journaling.
Right. You didn't have awareness
You
that
don't
you were...
write everything. You keep stuff out. You over explain yourself in case somebody does read it. So you're like, this is why I thought this thing. This is why this. And you really like, it's almost like you're having a conversation to a point. It's not your own thoughts. It's like, if I was to tell you this is all the other information I would give you. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So when you said, hey, I do this thing, I'm like, that's not normal. Oh yeah, I guess so. I guess when you say it out loud, that's not normal.
So
or maybe it is.
When I say it's performative, I don't mean that in like a...
It totally is, though. I know what you mean.
Yeah, right. It's not like you're, look at me, look at me, look at me, but it's totally doing it for somebody else.
Yeah, you're like, it's like you're saving, I don't even know, you're troubleshooting events that might happen down the road.
Yeah.
It's like, if you read this, then
So it's
I
people
don't,
pleasing.
it's...
Would that
some
be
of it,
right?
Some of it's people pleasing, but some of it's self-preservation, or at least for me.
I think that's how people pleasing is formed.
Well,
People
yeah,
pleasing
there's
is
that.
there to keep, quote unquote, attachment. And so in some regards, it's this figuring out a way to,
Yeah.
not conserve, to preserve attachment.
Okay.
I don't know. I think it's really funny.
It is. And I remember, like, we were talking about how I'm like, I will, if you need to know that I won't read that, if you go first, like, I can do that. Like, do you want me to burn them? Do you want me to, like, I can make that guarantee for you to give you that freedom. I don't know if it'll do anything,
Right.
but it was like easy. And then it's, if I go first, do I care? And I was trying to wonder, like, and it's funny because I'm like, do I care? I'm like, obviously I do because I'm editing. But I didn't have desire to read yours. And I'm curious, I want to know about you, but it wasn't like, it felt like such a violation that it didn't, I was like, that's an easy promise.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you just started this episode and you're like, I can't write that because what if Stephanie reads it? I was like, what do you want me? What don't you want me to know? And it sparked that.
Right.
So suddenly I'm like, huh.
Well, aren't there things that you can
interesting.
think of that you're like, I hope Craig doesn't read this one day?
Not one.
You're so full of shit. You're so full of it.
Not one.
It's interesting too, because it also... So
I do, yeah.
When we had this conversation the other day, right, it left me wondering the roots of it, where it came from, kind of how it started and all those kind of things, right?
Oh, can I caveat real fast?
Caveat away.
Like, it's like we have like, they're like, well, it's because you can't trust each other. You're keeping secrets. Like, we have full access to each other's phones, passwords to everything. Like, we're not like, but there's these private dialogues.
There's a vault
in
up
your
there.
head that you get to have.
Right.
Like, you're not, just because your partner doesn't know every single thought that's went through your head, you're not keeping, like, it's okay that you have some things that, Well,
this is the part of me, because I think this is also the codependent part of me, right? Where we have the conversation, and I think through the process of like what the roots are, where it came from, the whole grade school thing, all of those things are very much
totally
applicable.
makes sense.
Right?
Yes.
It's a combination of a bunch of different things. And I think all of those things had a factor. Like you really breaking it down and being like, somebody is reviewing it. You have to, that makes a lot of sense, right? The way with which it has to fit these parameters, like the assignment is journal, put the date, put the time, put the, fill out what you did, so on and so forth. I've journaled that way my whole life.
We've also, when you've found your journals as a kid,
Yeah.
you, for fun, we've looked at them together.
Right.
You're reading them, so you're still sharing them, which is doing only like, these get read.
Yeah, but from
So
fourth
it's
grade, it's really funny,
solidifying.
right? Today I had chicken nuggets for lunch. I think Alan is really mad at me because he didn't want to play football at recess. And I am upset because after school I have to mow the lawn.
I love that you wrote that at least. Like that you were still tapping into
Right.
your feelings.
Well, I won journaling. I
You
did journaling great
You
when I was
did
in
win
fourth grade.
journaling.
And then, so I had the thought process of where did it all come from? And then my very next thought was like, what is that part of me that is holding back writing things that I don't want you to read? And it's this part of me that thinks, because you're totally right. You were saying earlier with the caveat where it's healthy and normal and completely acceptable to have private thoughts to yourself that are just yours. Not everything that goes through your brain has to be shared with your partner, right? And that's the codependent part of me that thinks it does. That's the codependent part of me that is afraid to have, quote unquote, privacy. I guess it's privacy, right? There's no expectation of privacy. That's truly, I think, a big part of it. That's landing for me.
There's no expectation. So there's no expectation that you get privacy.
Yeah.
And then there's no expectation that I get privacy.
Yeah.
Do you read my journal?
No.
So
did you ask me on the podcast so that you could get it on recording?
You heard it here. He does not read my journal.
I do not.
He does not. He said it. I don't think you did. I was like using that as a point proving is that you give me privacy.
Yes.
So maybe that expectation is something that doesn't have as much, that there's no privacy.
It's
an experience, but it's not really what you believe anymore. Maybe.
What's really fascinating?
What's that?
Is that because I've played out scenarios where you read my journal.
Okay. Ooh, what happened? Let's hear these.
I forgive you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I mean, yeah, it is sweet, right?
I'm not going to put you in that position.
In this imaginary scenario in Craig's head, right? But I'm realizing more and more and more where I don't have an expectation of privacy.
Oh, I missed that. Oh, honey.
Where it's like, even if you violate my boundaries, I will forgive you. That's how codependent I am. That is so sad.
Okay. Well, let's break this down a little bit. Because if I violate your boundaries, there's
I won't sacrifice our attachment, our relationship, even if you violate my boundaries. And it's honestly, if we go deep in a split second in this moment, I can't think of a boundary that I would hold. I can't think of a boundary. If you crossed a certain boundary that I would be like, that one is too much. I can't think of one. And there's a part of my brain that interprets that as like true love. There's a part of my brain that goes, that is how you show somebody that you truly love them, that you will always forgive them no matter what. And I'm like, this is all just a thought experiment in the moment, right? Because we're connecting into some unconscious parts of how I move through life and how I move through our relationship. And I have an intellectual part of me and a higher consciousness part that can kind of I'm sure that there's things, things.
There's things.
I'm sure that there's things that you could do that I would eventually be like, okay, I can't, that's too much. I can't deal with that. Right. I'm sure there's a line in the sand somewhere. Right.
Yeah.
But I can also connect to the unconscious part of me, to the part of me that would be like, what if she read all of my journals? And then she got really mad at me for everything that was in my journals. Right. I would forgive her because the part of it where I don't even go past the part where you violate. Again, you're not doing anything. This is just...
I haven't read them, yes.
You haven't read them. Everybody's safe here. Everything's all right.
Safe, it's okay.
Take some deep breaths. I know that sometimes you and I do this all the time where we'll have these theoretical conversations about things that haven't happened. And then our nervous systems are like...
Right. Actually, right now, my heart's just kind of aching for you.
Right.
That's what I'm feeling. I'm not feeling activated or I'm just like, oh, honey.
I know, it's sad.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
My first thought was like, well, maybe reading journals isn't a divorce worthy, depending on, right?
Right.
So I'm like seeing that, but that's where my brain was, because I'm trying to make sense of it before it clicked. You're saying that that you don't deserve to have boundaries. I'm like, that is fucking old.
Well, it is an old program.
You so deserve to have boundaries.
It is an old program, and yes, I deserve to have boundaries. Yeah. And
I'm like ready to come to battle for you.
Right.
This is bringing up my protective mode. I'm like, you're not going to have boundaries. I'm going to make sure everybody honors your boundary. That's my codependent part where now I'm going to be really, really protective. I'm like, oh, you don't feel like you can have boundaries? There's not a motherfucker who's getting through to you.
Right.
I don't know. I'm swearing so much right now. It really brought out my, like, I'm like, let's do this. Like, I'm ready to protect because I'm so sad that, like, interesting. Please keep telling me, keep unpacking this. I want to hear you.
I just think it's fascinating when I look at it through that lens of like, oh, how would I even would excuse that? And it's like, because again, this is just the thought experiment that I've gone through, especially as, you know, we've had this conversation and I've been thinking about this stuff. When you hurt me and when you have hurt me in the past, I am so quick to bypass the experience of what that was actually like. I am so quick to just go, yeah, everybody makes mistakes. It's okay. She didn't really mean it. And that's true, right? I can safely say that at this point in our relationship, you're not actively or even like subversely, like you're not consciously trying to do anything to hurt me. And of course, accidents happen, right? We offend each other, we hurt each other's feelings, all of those kind of things happen. Regardless of the circumstances, very, 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 very rarely will I ever stay in the space of like, actually, what did that feel like? What am I actually feeling? What boundary was crossed? What agreement, you know, wasn't upheld? Or even just like what sadness and pain was brought up inside of me. It is so subconscious in the way that I move through our relationship and through life that I will rush to forgive you in order to move on from that moment. And I think at the, like underneath it all is really just me trying to hold on to the attachment, hold on to the relationship. Because the idea of like, if I don't forgive you for this, then we break up, then the relationship is over, right? Then we get divorced. And it's like, so I don't sit with the hurt of it. I don't sit with the pain of it. I don't sit with the anger of it. I don't sit with the sadness. I'm just like, yeah, that sucked. Gosh, I'm kind of frustrated that you did that. Let's hurry up and move on. And I'll just forgive you for it because I know that you didn't really mean it. That's kind of sad. And I don't mean like, I don't even know if that is sad. Do you feel, I mean, because I can see it through the lens of attachment. I can see it through the lens of like inner child stuff. I can see it through the lens of you're my secure attachment. Like you're the thing that is keeping me safe in the world. Our relationship, our love, our life, right? You're what it's all about. And so.
Are you processing? Like I'm seeing two part, like there's so many things I want to say and it's so hard to try and stay on like one lane right now. So I'm going to do my best because my like whole bunch of different channels are opening right now. So
Squirrels.
Right. Well, they're not even squirrels. They're just like, I don't know. No, don't scroll me with that even. Okay. Oh, come back. Don't lose this. So some of the dots that I'm connecting right here, the main path that I feel like we should take here is, okay. These are some things to look at. Okay. And you're being so brave in sharing this. Like you're being so brave. And so like if we hit on something that doesn't resonate, it doesn't have to. But if we hit on something that's like a little too much, then we can review at a later date. You know what I mean? This isn't something
I'm
that we
tipping
have
all
to
the
go into.
cameras over and storming out.
Okay. So even if you're saying even if I violated a boundary that was a deal breaker, that was a relationship ending boundary, that you would forgive me to keep the attachment. And you're sitting with that, right? Are there deal ending boundaries that I've crossed?
No.
No. So we have that there, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not done. Hold on.
Keep going.
Hold on. So we have that of awareness of there's not saying that I'm perfect and that I haven't done anything harmful. Definitely not saying that. But just I haven't crossed a deal ending boundary. I haven't brought you to violate a significant boundary for yourself.
Correct.
I haven't brought you to like a deal breaker. So that hasn't been there, and you're feeling like that is there. That you would, right? You would violate. My thoughts, I'm not so sure that fits here, but I'm seeing this like wound come up of where you have had to do that in the past, and going little of where you absolutely had to say, I have to allow this boundary to be violated so that I keep secure love.
Yeah. Totally.
So even though
I can
it
see a bunch
doesn't-
of examples of that.
Yeah. So even though it doesn't quite fit here, and this isn't I'm now absolved. This isn't about me. This is about now reflecting and redirecting back. So we're seeing, like, this is just, I think you're so much stronger than you. I believe, I have total faith in you of holding your boundaries.
Yeah.
I believe you love yourself enough to hold your boundaries. And so this is kind of like where I'm inviting you to look at, in a way of, are you forgiving of me? Yes, thankfully so. Thankfully so, because I'm a pain in the ass. Are you forgiving of me? Forgiving of me? Yes. Would you forgive me for big mistakes? Yes. Would you hold your boundaries? Now, are you communicating enough of those when you're upset with me? Probably not. I think that's something there.
My boundaries.
Right. You
Yeah.
definitely need to communicate there. But when it comes to deal breaker boundaries, can you trust yourself enough to hold those? And maybe you couldn't always, but do you feel like you could now?
I feel like I could now,
Yeah.
but I honestly don't think, like, this isn't the part of, and maybe it is the exact same part of my brain that is codependent, right? This little wounded attachment part of my brain that's from childhood. I don't think there is a deal breaker boundary with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it because I
can
won't
think of it,
cross them?
It's not just that you won't cross them. I don't, like, I can think of quote unquote deal breaker boundaries with other relationships, like with friendships and, family. And I can think of some things like that where, okay, if that were to happen or if that were to take place or something like that, then yeah, I'm not really going to be in a relationship with that person anymore. I can't think of one for you. Basically, what I'm saying is, it's like, what I'm saying, baby, is you got a free pass to do whatever you want.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm feeling really uncomfortable.
I know. I'm just thinking,
and I'm trying to decide if, like,
thank you,
this is something that we need to continue to go down.
Well, we can keep looking at it. I think that, like you said, a big thing. I think it's really funny because we can shift up gears if you're seeing that. I think it's really funny that I feel like everything that I do is a deal breaker boundary for you.
Interesting.
Like, my codependentness is like, that's it. He's going to leave. He hates me. He hates me. And it's funny. I'm going to share something in a little while of something that I practiced today for the first time to keep my energy right when something like this came up.
Hey, everybody, we just wanted to take a minute and push pause real quick to thank you for being here and listening to the Steph and Craig show. We know there's a lot of options out there when it comes to podcasts, and we are incredibly grateful that you chose us. The things that we have heard on podcasts have helped both of us in our healing journey. So we believe that they're incredibly powerful, and we have an important mission with this podcast that we need your help with. Head over to YouTube and search out the Steph and Craig show. Be sure to click on the subscribe button, and don't forget about the little bell for those notifications so that you don't miss an episode. One other thing you can do is share it with somebody, whether it's this episode you're listening to right now or one of the other episodes that you've really enjoyed. We love you, we care about you, and we're on a mission to help you create better relationships and live your best life, because we believe we all do better when we heal together. Now let's get back to the show.
I don't know. It's like, you're like, I don't think there's anything you could do. And I'm like, I can't walk through the hall right without like making too much noise and stepping on the spots that make too much noise. Like, there's so much in my head that did not start with you that makes me think everything is like, I am a deal breaker. Like, everything about me is disposable, right? How sick is that? I've definitely done a lot of healing from there. That's not sick,
right? That's just...
Well, I can see
a little kid program that you've got.
That is the little kid. And it doesn't matter. Like, I've done so much work and I have good boundaries now. I feel like I have good boundaries.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like this mic is so far away.
You're doing great.
Okay. Except for when it comes to you. I feel like you would also like...
Well, that's my question is, do you feel like there is a boundary that I could cross that you would be like,
I
I'm
think
done.
there are so many boundaries out there that you could cross.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that you're the person that would ever cross those type of boundaries. So the boundaries that I would like to hold better, like you have crossed boundaries, right? That I should have had better boundaries for, or should's relative, whatever. I don't know where I sit with those. I don't know. On one hand, I'm like, I'm a boundary holding ninja. Like, I will hold these boundaries. And on the other hand, I'm like, don't hate me. Still love me. So I don't know.
All of this feels like another layer of that codependency
Yeah.
thing where
Not
it's,
us.
well, we're talking about it in third person.
Right?
Because
We're
we
not.
healed it all.
This isn't us. We're good.
We
no,
healed
we're
all of
totally,
our-
we're still like every day.
Right.
Every day. No. Like,
I think the whole journal thing is a real clear
journal
fucking
thing.
example where it's like, I'm journaling for other people. It's your journal. I know, but they might read it one day. How much more like that would be the definition of codependency, right?
This is why I also don't journal when I'm really having a hard time. Because I'm like, this isn't safe.
And then that
I
would
journal
be like
when I'm in a good mood. Like, this is okay to read.
right?
But I also have like, I used to, like, I have moments of where I will let it out,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And then I'm like, oh, there's still some days I see that journal and I'm like, you've read that. You know what I wrote. You know how mad I was. You know how hurt I was. You know how close to the edge I was. Like all of these things, and it scares me. Have you read? You said no. It's uncovering. Suddenly I'm feeling exposed. I don't even know where this journal is that I think you may have read.
Oh, interesting. I've never read one of your
you.
journals.
I believe you.
Right.
So when it comes back to that, what do you think it is about the journal? What do you think it is that brought that up? Like so
What do you mean?
significantly? Like, is it, oh, you know what? I'm getting squirreled. I just got nervous.
Yeah.
I just activated out of my body.
That's okay.
I can't follow that thought.
Drop back in. Take a deep breath. Breathe.
I can't. You remember how earlier you were like, everything's okay here? And I'm like, I'm handling this fine. I'm not anymore.
Well, you were going to
Now
talk
I'm
earlier.
nervous.
You said earlier you were going to bring up something that you were practicing today.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
I do, but I would really
Is that
like.
not applicable to
no,
the
it's
conversation?
totally applicable. But I feel like I just hijacked the conversation from you, and I don't want to, because you were sharing a lot of vulnerability. So I want to get back to.
Yeah, you didn't hijack the conversation. It's okay.
Okay, well, I
Listen,
think the survey
people,
says that I totally hijacked the conversation.
One of the things that we struggle with when it comes to life on a Tuesday is trying to have these conversations with one another. Like, you might think that this is not that this conversation is for the podcast. Like, we're not performative in a sense. We get stuck in these like,
I think they can
no,
tell.
no. I just want you to be able to feel. No, I'm gonna not. No. Like, you're in it right now. You're really going through it. It doesn't matter what I have to say. Like, I know that's not what you're saying. That it doesn't
That's not
matter.
what
But
I'm saying.
you and I will go around in circles, kind of tiptoeing around each other and trying to be like, nope, you're feeling. I'm not. And I think that
It's
there's.
because we're practicing so good at when the other person's feeling, we're listening and we're holding space.
Yes, that's part of it. And there's also another part of me that's like, hey, it's your turn. I've done enough feeling.
I
And
missed that.
let's have a conversation. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Wherever you were going. And you're like, no, you're really vulnerable. Let's keep talking about your vulnerability. And I'm
Right?
like, no, let's
what
not.
if there's a part of me that's just being so empathetic to keep the hot seat out from under me?
Right.
Like, let's put it back on you. No, baby, this is your moment. And I
Exactly.
don't want you to look at me.
I think that's another part.
Jeez,
There's another part in there that's like, keep shining the light on him. Don't bring it back over here. This is a really scary conversation. He's going to ask you about your journal again. Keep shining the light on him. So we're doing a great job.
Okay, we are.
What are you
So-
practicing lately?
Not lately. I practiced it today.
Okay.
It's the first time that I've practiced it, and it wasn't a conscious awareness. It came to me. So I'm feeling super sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling super sensitive, and I got triggered. You said something earlier today. You were expressing your thought process.
Are you
But-
literally talking about like 10 minutes ago?
Yes.
Okay.
Like I said, it just happened.
Let's do it.
And it worked.
Oh, it worked?
It fucking worked. And I'm like, remember this, remember this, remember this, remember this, remember this. Because so quick I go to, like I said, like I was thinking like you're going to leave like my self-worth. I'm devalued. I'm worth, like I have to constantly, the program that I got was from very little is that everything is my fault. I have no worth. The only worth that I have is like, I had really bad programming and I've had that for a long time. So I've been working on it for a long time. I'm working on healthy boundaries. I'm working on positive self-talk. It's a constant daily process. And if I don't stick with it, it starts to slip. But it's like I don't know that I'll get to a point in life where I don't have to consciously choose to think positively about myself. The really cool thing is I can consciously choose to think positively about myself. But it's a slope. Some days I'm really great and some days like I can't even look at myself in the mirror and I don't notice that I haven't been looking at myself in the mirror. So I have to constantly work at it. And it's really cool that I get to now work at it instead of just berating myself, right? So, having said that, when I perceive something you just say, either you are being mean and shitty to me or I perceive you to be attacking me. I think it's because I'm garbage. I think it's because I don't have any worth. I think it's because you don't love me. I think it's like all of these things come in my head. And I have to like put them somewhere. I have to try to, sometimes it's flipping it back at you. Sometimes it's just like listening. One of the things that I would do in the past was, this has nothing to do with you. He's telling you how he's feeling. And I would have to say that over and over so I could hear. Like our relationship has taken a lot of practice to be able to hear the other person.
For sure.
And so that was my dialogue for a long time. This has nothing to do with you. He's telling you how he feels. And when I could hear that enough time, he's telling you how he feels. That's what I wanted you to do. I wanted you to tell me how you're feeling. So then I could listen and I could open up space and not take it personally and feel like I have to defend or deflect because, all the things that are going to come. But today it hit really hard and I was so mad at you. You said something and I was like, hold the front door. Like it brought up I was so mad at you. So mad that I kept I told you I had to put myself in timeout because I would try to say how I was feeling and then out would slip a below the belt. I kept throwing these
You've got humidity on the brain.
I do.
It's like
100%
humidity
right?
today
It's
where we're
hot.
living here in Tennessee. It's nice and summery and humid. So Steph's like, I had to put condensation on the windows because it's so humid outside. Yeah.
I'm
you
doing
definitely
my
were
best.
throwing some passive aggressiveness and some
but-
some condensation.
See, it's hard. It's hard. They kept slipping out, and I'm like, "Stop it, Stephanie!" And I would even acknowledge it, and then as soon as I would acknowledge it, boom! I'm like, "I can't stop. I need a break. I need a timeout. I need to be alone for a minute." And you mentioned that you're like, "Okay, but I want to come back to this conversation, so let me know when you were ready." And there was part of me that was like, "Fuck."
Right.
I just wanted the conversation to be over. I just wanted to stop talking. I didn't want to come back to
Yeah.
it. And that's also one of the things that I do. I put an imaginary, a friend and I were having this conversation too about
I thought
how
you were saying your imaginary friend. My imaginary friend.
No, a very dear friend who I love very much. And you know who you are. So we talked about no longer wanting to put pretend pins in things. And instead of how did we say, we don't want to, we're not putting a pin in things, we put things off.
Yeah.
Push it away. And so not wanting to do that. So when you said you wanted to come back to the conversation, you've mentioned things too. You're like, you said you were going to come back to this and you haven't. And we talk about, I'm going to get there. I will. You just hang with me. I'm going to get to the point. I don't know why I'm so scared to say it.
I'm excited.
There's times I can't bring stuff back to you because I don't feel calm enough to. Like, I'm still mad about things. You're like, I want to have this conversation. I'm still too mad to talk about it. I don't know how to bring it back.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how much am I putting pins in and how much am I just putting it off? So you said, I want to come back to this. And I'm like, can you give me 5 minutes? 5 minutes. And you're like, and I set a timer on my phone. And you shut the door and I just started crying.
Really?
And I'm in the bathroom and I'm just, or not in the bathroom, like in the trying to get my makeup on. I'm like, well, I guess I can't do makeup right now. And I'm just crying. And I'm like, you can't show him how you're feeling. This is why you know better. And as soon as like that started, that berating came in, I like caught it and I shifted it. And it started off with saying now this is how I had to get through the process. Okay. I know you weren't doing anything wrong, but at the time you hurt me, even though it was a misunderstanding and it wasn't what I thought it was.
We can explain what it was.
We can in a minute.
Because I think people are like, what is it? What is it?
We can, but if we get squirreled, I'm never going to get this thought out.
You're good.
And I got to get this baby out of me. So I'm like, his bad behavior has nothing to do with my worth. His behavior, his choices is nothing to do with my worth. It does not determine my worth. And so I kept saying that. And I'm like, his decisions, his behavior is not indicative of my worth. It doesn't value my worth. It doesn't determine my worth. And I was like starting to feel that. I'm like, oh, he was hurting too. He was triggered too. So his trigger has nothing to do with my worth. And I can still talk to him. I can still show him my feelings. Just because he was triggered doesn't mean I can't go to him ever. Like, this is a moment he was triggered. And then I was like, you were triggered too. You said it. And I started to like come down. I'm like, hold this. Just because you made a decision, you said something hurtful, it didn't determine my worth. And I was getting calm. You were triggered. I can still talk to you.
Keep talking.
So I kept saying that. And I did that I cried. And I was doing Annabelle taught us I don't know if she done the look up. So you're feeling your emotions without it sticking in your body. And I'm crying. And I'm saying this has nothing to do with my worth. I can still talk to you. You were triggered. You were in a space. And then when that 5-minute timer went off, I'm like, oh, that was fast. I was like, okay, I'm ready. And I had calmed my nervous system. I had regulated myself to come out and talk to you in here. And then it was just a misunderstanding. And as soon as we had that, I was like, oh, I totally missed that. I'm sorry for how I was behaving in that space because I totally missed that. So recognizing your actions wasn't about my worth.
So you caught
I caught it.
You caught it in the moment where you were spiraling out emotionally and you were able to feel emotion, process emotion, as well as redirect towards, the reality and the truth behind what was really taking place so that you didn't spiral out.
I said it earlier. I'm a ninja.
Yeah.
Like, really?
That's so cool. I'm really, really proud of you.
It was a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It was hard. It was really hard to say all that. I don't know why it was so hard.
What I love is that. So what happened?
That was so hard to say. Can we just breathe for a minute? I feel like that took me an hour.
Take a deep breath, baby.
To get that out.
Everybody,
I don't know
pause.
why that was so scary. Can you imagine me trying to journal that?
Take you 4 years to get all that
right?
out.
That's how I journal too. I feel like I have to
give all these excuses and caveats of why you're feeling. Yeah.
That's a total trauma response.
It is a total trauma response.
It doesn't make sense unless I can articulate every detail.
Right. Your emotions and feelings have to have an explanation.
Yes.
Right. It can never simply be because somebody else was an asshole.
You're like, I need a yes or no. I'm like, it's not that simple. I can't. It will not work.
So what happened was, it's actually podcast related. It's kind of funny. We were trying to come up with what time we were going to record today. And there's all sorts of different little factors and variables in regards to our life and why we do what we do and when we record and whatnot and everything like that. And we literally were just having a conversation about what time we were going to record. You thought we were recording at 1 o'clock.
I thought I heard you say that.
Right.
Yeah, I
Steph
misunderstood.
thought that she heard 1 o'clock, and in reality, it was 11 o'clock.
It wasn't even a conversation to me. It was someone you were having to somebody else.
Yeah, I was talking with our son about when we were going to record today.
And I'm like, check 1. That seems a little late, but okay.
And we were having this conversation at 10 o'clock. And so for me, I was bringing up the conversation because I was like, if we're going to be recording about 11 o'clock, which is about an hour from now, I was basically touching base And Steph was like, we're not recording for like 3+ hours. Why are
Right.
you bugging me with this right now?
So my state of ready was 3+ hours.
Yeah. And in the process of trying to talk about this, I get triggered.
Right. Well,
I
I
get
understand.
activated, right? You understand that now because we've talked about it afterwards. And what activated me was this hurry up and wait game of
I
like,
panicked.
right. We say we're going to do something and then we have to wait and 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 wait, wait. See, that's some of my passiveness coming out.
It was a little passive, but you were also sugarcoating it.
Sugarcoating it?
Yeah.
How so?
You were saying it so you knew I wait, but like what you were thinking is like Stephanie takes forever to get ready.
That's exactly what I was
But you weren't
thinking.
saying that. So
Right,
you were
I was saying we.
sugarcoating it.
Yeah, you take a long time to get ready,
Yeah. Which is why I need to know the time. So when I think it's 1,
right? And we're not going to spiral out and get angry at each other. That was the conversation that we were having in
see
the
what
moment.
happened.
And we both got triggered. And when I recognized that I was getting triggered, I paused and I started to kind of like take some deep breaths, because we've learned that breath is obviously one of the most important things that we all need to incorporate into our life and breathe into our body on a regular basis. But it's very, very helpful when you're activated. And I have been trying to practice that more and more, where I'm taking like real obvious deep breaths in the process of trying to get more oxygen into my body when I recognize that my nervous system is activated. And I know that that is triggering to watch. I know that you see me breathing deeply when we're having a difficult conversation gets interpreted through the lens of I'm upsetting him even more, and he's trying to manage the anger that's underneath the surface. He's pissed off at me now, and he's trying to breathe and not lose his shit because he's so angry at me. Fuck you. Why are you so angry at me? You don't have any right to be angry at me. You're the one that's bugging me right now, blah, 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 blah.
This wasn't even the part that got us fighting yet.
Okay, what was the part?
I thought you were getting to it. But like I'm taking a breath.
Uh-huh.
Looks the same as I'm about to lose my shit.
It does.
So
It does look the same.
Or I'm activated and I can't see a difference.
Right. Who knows?
Right. So continue.
So I'm breathing deeply. No, I'm taking some deep cleansing breaths because I'm trying to slow my nervous system so that I can control my thoughts. Because all of your little passive aggressive things that came out like 5 minutes later or 2 minutes later, I was having all of those run through my head. So my version of all of those little passive aggressive things were starting to run through. And rather than let them slip out, I was trying to keep them in.
Okay.
And I was trying to calm myself.
Yeah.
So I eventually get to the point where I'm calm.
And
And then I say, what did I, because you'll articulate it much better because it totally fucked you up. Like it totally
I was
upset you.
not happy.
Yeah.
Because we've had this conversation before about how it doesn't feel like the other person's allowed to feel emotions because then it'll affect the other person. So they have to always have this like front on.
Yeah.
Right? So you said, I'm feeling all of this anxiety because, oh my gosh, get it right.
Oh,
I'm feeling all
you are.
because you are in a bad mood.
That's right.
So like it was my bad mood was causing you to feel all this anxiety.
right.
And I was like, excuse me.
Yeah. And it was really funny because that's totally what it was, where I thought I was doing such a good job of articulating what I'm This is so funny. Let's push pause. We're going to restart the whole podcast because this is really funny. What I said was essentially what I said was, right, was your feelings right now. I can feel that you're getting activated and anxious, and that's causing me to get anxious. And what you heard was, right,
Essentially isn't verbatim, but continue.
right. And so
What I
basically
heard
what I
was-
was saying was how you're feeling is making me feel a certain way. Stop feeling the way that you're feeling.
That's exactly what I heard.
That's what you heard.
That's exactly what I heard.
Right. And what
I
I-
responded.
And you
Not
responded with
great.
some sass.
I came back with my own.
And what I was trying to communicate was I'm recognizing that I'm super activated in this moment. And one of my coping mechanisms that we both are aware of is I will emotionally monitor. I will go through the process of trying to gauge how you're feeling with your nervous system to then decide how I'm feeling. And because I can sense that your nervous system is becoming activated this morning, I wanted to kind of check in with you about the timing of the podcast. So it was this really funny moment where we were trying to implement all of these like clear communication things to some extent and trying to have a difficult conversation. And it came out wonky. It was messy and it was funny after the fact. And I'm glad we're laughing about it now. And like, it was really challenging for me to calm myself and be able to, I'm like, just because I kept talking. I could feel like as soon as I said that thing where I was like, your feelings are making me upset. Like if you
Could you feel the disturbance in this force?
Feel your energy just go, like you got so mad. You were so ready to be like, what'd you just say to me, motherfucker?
I was then practicing.
Right. And in my brain, I was just thinking, please just let me get my thoughts out. I'm trying to articulate myself so clearly because I'm doing everything I can to connect to my nervous system, and I'm trying to talk to you in a rational, calm way because right now we're spiraling down a hole that we don't need to be spiraling down. So I was trying to communicate all of those things as best as I could. And then you did a great job of being like, I need to push pause.
We want to take a moment and really thank you for sharing your time with us. We know it's a valuable asset that you have, and we're honored that you're spending it with us. We both have experiences over the years where podcasts have helped us and influenced us greatly. That's why we're so passionate about podcasting, and we have a big mission with this show. We aim to reach over 1 million people, and we need your help. If you wouldn't mind doing these 3 things, it will help us grow and expand and reach more people. First off, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. You can click the notification button as well so you don't miss an episode each time a new one is released. Secondly, if you would take a minute and leave us a review, that helps the podcast grow and expand as well. And last step, share it with somebody who you think might benefit, because we believe we all do better when we heal together. That's it. Thank you. We appreciate everything. Now back to the show.
And there's so many times when we're active, when we're actively active. There's so many times when we're in active conflict. I mean, that's a good way to put it, right?
Yeah.
We're just in this moment of conflict with one another.
We were in a conflict.
And when you hold up the push pause sign, it is so hard to be like, cool, you threw up pause. I just have to sit now with my shit and allow you the space.
Which is so healing for me.
Yeah.
And I just like, I want to, like, this is a moment of gratitude right there, because that's not something that I have experienced. I hear how hard it is. And I'm not bypassing this. I'm sharing how incredibly amazing and healing that is for me, that everything isn't pushed and dragged out into like this catastrophic event. Like, you have to handle your emotions when I push pause, and you do that. And it's not you have to handle your emotions. Like, none of this is this is a 100% gratitude, so healing, that I'm now safe enough that I can say push pause, and you push pause. And that it's beautiful to allow me that time to come back, which means that I'm now practicing coming back to conversations that I'm now feeling safe to, instead of feeling like I have to avoid them at all costs. So just a moment of gratitude. I know that that's a healthy way to do things, but the fact that you're willing to do that with me it's so healing. It's such a big deal. And I'm so grateful for you.
You do it for me too. It's a really big deal. And it's really hard. And we don't get it right every time. There's plenty of times where one of us, like, there's plenty of times where we both do this, where you'll say, I got to push pause. And I'll be like, cool. And I'm totally not in a super activated place. So I'm like, that's fine. Push pause. We'll push pause on this. 30 seconds later, you want to keep going. 2 minutes later, you're continuing to talk. Finally, I'm like, hey, I'm pretty sure you wanted to push pause. You're right. I wanted to push. I'm done. We're going to take a break. And then 2 minutes later, you're like, and then I got to get the last word in. And then what are you talking about this? It's so hard. It's really, really challenging.
I don't
You don't know what?
I don't see why. That doesn't seem like it'd be hard to navigate at all.
I do the same thing.
Right? No, I'm being like off. Yeah, that's hard. It's so funny. Sometimes I'm really frustrated, but it's like always with me when you're like, I thought you wanted to push pause. And it's like, oh, how do I keep it keeps coming before I recognize it. And other times it's hilarious. Like, what the hell? Stop talking. Why does it keep coming?
Have you sat with and thought about the journaling thing at all since we had the conversation, or have you journaled since then?
Well, it was yesterday.
Was it only yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Time flies
And
when you're living your dreams, babe.
I have not. I did do yoga this morning, so
Did you?
I worked out emotions on the mat.
Do you
without like written use this against you?
Like, if you don't want to have this conversation, we can definitely move on. You just let me know, right? Because there's other things that we can obviously talk about. But I'm curious as to, because I've been journaling every day for like 2 years.
Yes, I know.
And I mean, it is a thing that I'm proud of.
You should be.
Right? Because it's like this thing that I set out to do for myself. And I'm really grateful that I've consistently shown up for myself for the past 2 years. And this isn't comparing. I'm not saying like, oh, I'm journaling. How come you're not journaling? This is just an honest curiosity. I'm curious as to, because the start of this conversation, well, the start of the journaling conversation the other day was like, what are you navigating on your healing journey that I don't know about, that we haven't talked about? And so I'm curious because we don't talk a lot about journaling in regards to like where we're at with it or what, you know. So I'm curious as to where you're at with it, what's your relationship to it, why you may or may not do it. You know, is it not really a big priority for you? Because, and the reason I ask this, right, is because my narrative with journaling is like, I'm the biggest loser in the world if I don't do it. Like, I'm super critical of myself if I don't do it. Not so much anymore because it's been this daily practice for so long. But when it comes to the space of I'm on this path and I'm trying to heal and I'm trying to do this work and I believe in quote unquote the power of journaling and significance of it. But that's my story is if I'm not doing it, then I'm shaming myself because I'm not doing it. So I'm just honestly curious. And again, if you don't want to go down that path, we can shift it up. Do you even remember the question?
I do.
Okay.
Like about journaling. I
Yeah.
can go down that path. It's now keep in mind it takes me an hour to get a 5-second thought out, which is why I have to phone call. Don't ask me to. I'm sorry. People like just send a text. I'm like, I can't. I don't want to write a novel.
One of the reels that we did last week, the parking one at Costco, because it was like, do you park in the same spot every time, or do you park in some random spot? And one of the comments was like, that's a really good example. That's, I mean, this isn't verbatim, but essentially the comment was, those are two good examples of like autism and ADHD. And I'm like, that's us. Two good examples.
Nailed that perfectly.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen,
Anyways.
accurate
go ahead.
person. Journal. Okay. Journal. So there's a lot with it. Obviously talked about trauma with journal. Like there's,
Yeah.
and
You've got a
everybody is
history
like,
with it.
this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to journal. You're supposed to script. You're supposed to do all this. And I like it. I do to a point. Like I also have binders and journals galore. Like I think if I can just put it in a binder with organizers and tabs and I have this and I create this whole thing and this whole section in this binder, then I'm going to nail it. That's all I need. My perfect life is the perfect binder away. The planner, online organizer, whiteboard, all of this. Okay. I get overwhelmed. With them. And then it comes into like, it's such a big deal for you, which is good. But I did feel like, oh, you're not doing this thing I'm doing. What's wrong with you? What's wrong? See how you feel like a piece of shit if you didn't do it for a day?
You felt like I was projecting that out onto you. I probably did.
That doesn't mean that you were. Like I
probably did.
Who knows? Right? I don't feel like you're like, you're a piece of shit if you don't journal. I never heard those words.
I'm sitting over there journaling, just looking at you.
Is that why you can't write it in there? When if Stephanie reads it, I think she's a piece.
This woman, she's not even journaling every day like I am. What a piece of shit she is.
Oh my gosh, I really feel like that too.
No,
I
baby.
feel like you judge me so hard for not journaling. So it's hard. And then if I feel like you're like, why aren't you doing this? Do this. If I feel like I'm getting told to do something,
Ain't gonna do it.
it's not even that I'm not going to do it. It's that I can't.
Interesting.
You just told me to do something. So thank you.
Now I can't
Now
do
this
it.
thing that I wanted to do, I can't do. And if I didn't want to do it in the first place,
Is that like the odds that the, what's that big word?
this is my story, Craig.
Okay.
That's what this is.
Oppositional
No,
defiance.
it's none of that.
Okay.
It's, I don't know what it is. Maybe I just demonstrated it right there. Anyways, so there's that. And then it's so many-fold. It's like choosing what I'm going to write, how I'm going to write it, how much to explain. If I'm trying to get a thought out, an emotion, or if I'm like writing about a dream I had, then it's taking over an hour. Like I have to do all these details because it doesn't make sense without all the details. And I feel like I need it to trigger my brain. 'Cause sometimes I go back and I read it and I look at the journal and I'm like, what? If I didn't give myself all the details, I have no idea what I meant. What am I even talking about? There's nothing here. I don't know what I mean. So I have to have all of that because I feel like it's important to have these things or it's too much and then I can't. So it takes, and if I just stick to script, the same thing, then it has, like, I get insane with it. It has to be like, I just keep adding because they have to be bigger. So then I have pages of scripts that I had to do. Oh, I'm not even done.
Well, I want to explain
question.
scripts.
I will.
Because scripts are like scripting. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
babe.
you're good.
Go ahead.
No, squirrel me.
I saw your face.
Well, I'm trying. I'm almost done with my thought, and I'm
Do it.
making it fast. I'm getting through it.
Do it.
But then it turns into an insanity of like each paragraph. It's like a contest. It's like when the Google Maps say, 23 minutes. I'm like, bet.
23 minutes to your destination. But I can do it in 21.
Right? So there's like, if it's like each paragraph, each script is like 3 lines. Okay. That means that if I end the first, I know what sentence the word ends on the sentence. I know what word ends the first line and where to start on the next one. So if it ends on the and I end it on one, then I've gone too far, then I'm failing. Then I've ruined the script and I've taken it away. But if I can end it on before the word before the ending, then I'm ahead of the game. If I can somehow make it smaller. And then it's this constant thing. Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Am I getting all of this? Can you see how stressful it is? So sometimes I just can't journal. And then if I don't do it, then I'm crap for not doing it. And then once you don't do it long enough, it's hard to start back up. And then you forget the day. No, journal, it's hard. Okay, so what do you got?
I wonder if all of those things, because I have those same things where it's like,
breathe.
well, first off, scripting is.
Yeah, now you can tell.
We got this technique from our yoga teachers where it's essentially you're just manifesting. And I don't mean it like, oh, you're just manifesting, but it's your future casting. I am joyful. This is mine, at least. I am joyful and grateful now that we have healed through all the shadows of our past together. So I script that every single morning so that you and I, right? Mm-hmm. I'm joyful and grateful now that we have healed through the shadows, all the shadows of our past together. So that's one of my scripts every morning. So I write that out every single day. That process, I have those same things where it's like, because I do it every single day, I know how much space that takes. I know that one specifically only takes 2 lines. I have other scripts that take 3 lines. And if on any given day the 2-line script takes 3 lines, then I have to readjust everything else.
And yes.
All of those things.
Yes.
I think that's like our ADD stuff. I think that's totally the neurotypical part of our brains that can't just have things be simple. Because I used to get incredibly judgmental and critical of that part of myself in this journaling process, where that part used to keep me so bound up and so frustrated. And I don't know how long ago it was. It was quite a while ago, where I gave myself permission to just suck at it and to be messy at it and to make mistakes at it and to also like recognize that there's going to be days where I have to be incredibly detail oriented about what I'm writing and that I'm incredibly critical of how I'm writing it. There's going to be days like that. And then there's other days where it's sloppy. Like there's times where I'm writing so messy and sloppy that I'm like, I can't even read this. And I'm like, great. Because ain't nobody wants to fucking read your journal anyways. So I've given up the idea that it's going to be anything other than all of those things.
Yeah.
Because those are all parts of me. Like the part of me that doesn't want to journal, doesn't fucking care, fucking write whatever the fuck. I don't fucking care. I don't even want to fucking be doing this morning, right? That part's
Right.
with me almost every morning where I'm like, this is a waste of your time. I don't know why you're fucking doing this. And then there's the other part of me that's like, okay, let's get out the rulers. Let's get out we're going to make sure that everything is within the proper lines and the spacing, and all of your handwriting is going to be perfect. And if I write really well, it looks really good and it's really like uniform and really neat. There's that part of me. There's the other part of me that like I will write a sentence or 3 words in that sentence and just get lost. I mean, it's 5:30 in the morning and there's nothing else going on. And suddenly I'm like, what am I doing? Oh, that's right. I got to continue this fucking script that I'm writing out over and over and over again, right? I just let it all happen. Just let it all happen. Because otherwise, I drove myself crazy. Otherwise, I wouldn't journal. Otherwise, eventually I would get to the point in the process where I would just be like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's not worth it to me. Yeah. I'm not saying that's your solution or your fix. I'm just letting you know, like, I can relate to that part.
That helps. That helps.
I can relate to the part that's like, oh, it's so stressful because it has to be this certain way. And
there's also a lot of it that I get out of the routine. My routine is now, or my time, is a lot more flexible. But it was, I had like stuff every morning. There wasn't first, it used to be where Saturdays were the only mornings that I didn't have to have an alarm. And then it turned to where Saturdays were gone too. So every morning I was waking up with an alarm. I didn't want to wake up any earlier. I was tired. I liked when I had a good journaling practice because it also ebbs and flows. I pick it up and I put it down. And I sound like that commercial. I pick things up and put things down.
I'm not familiar with that commercial.
Okay, well, we won't squirrel. If you got it, you got it. If you didn't, we're moving on.
It sucks to be you.
Yeah. But I had a really good flow with it. But that like obsessive comes in. So if something came into where I woke up late and then didn't have time to do it, it messed with my morning and my mood. I was like angry.
I have that.
You have that?
Like if I wake up and I have to rush through my journaling, otherwise I can't. Because if I don't journal, I can't start my day.
Right.
And if my day starts late, that means that I have to hurry up and get the journaling in.
We're so spicy.
Otherwise, I'm not like and so it is like a really like the vibration in my body is off for about 2 hours in the morning.
Makes you sick almost.
Because I had to rush through journaling in order, and then I'm behind the whole day.
Or you didn't do it.
Yeah.
Or you don't have that where you didn't do it. But like
I will not do it.
Yeah.
I do it because the shame and the guilt of not doing it. We might have a problem with journaling.
I think so. So I'm trying to decide, like, maybe I'm just going to go burn all the
caveats,
journals.
like, we're throwing them out the window. Stop fucking journaling. It's dangerous. It's going to make you mentally ill. Especially if you have ADD or if you're neuro. In any way,
like,
stop
we're
journaling.
Spicy. We've got all the spices. We're a spice rack.
We're a spice
We're a spice store. We are just like spicy
Spice
AF.
world.
Spice up your
We're
life.
just a couple of girls. A couple of spice girls over
Spice
here.
up your life. Okay, yeah. So there was actually another thing I was going to say, but it's gone now. It was probably really, really important.
It was probably the key to unlock journaling. that was going to make it all totally doable.
I know that I do it. I do it consistently when I feel more balanced, when I feel like I have more space, when I feel more connected to myself. And when I start getting like either down or when I have momentum, when I have that momentum, I don't have time for journaling either. It's like, I'm not going to sit there. I've got to go.
Yeah, it takes so much time.
I've got to go. Like,
when I say it takes so much time, like I said earlier, it's about 10 minutes. It's usually less than 10 minutes. And I'm like, it's 6:15 in the morning and I don't have 10 minutes to sit and journal right now. I have got to get on my
It
phone.
physically affects you. It physically. So my journaling practice at the moment, I can't even deal with the mic.
Let's wrap.
It's not there.
We got to go journal. Sorry. No. Were you saying something else?
It's okay that I'm not journaling right now.
It is okay.
Even though
it is totally okay
I
that you're
can't
not
get them,
journaling
I'm so
right now.
uncomfortable. I know. The funny thing before we go is that every time I script, my scripts are coming true. Have all my scripts come true? No, because I don't write them consistently. But when I hyper focus and I script, it works.
Yeah, it does.
So why can't I stick with that? Is there a little bit of fear there that it works? So
Interesting.
It's like,
Tune in for part 2 of Journal.
Who knew?
Journal podcasting.
Who knew?
Thank you, everybody. One thing I wanted to mention too, I totally
was
forgot I was
that?
going to mention at the beginning of the episode, is go listen to episode 12. It's a couple episodes back where we talk about Tell Me More. There's a really, really good communication game that we created to help you navigate hard conversations as well as active listening, vulnerable connection. It's amazing. And this episode we talked, the beauty about Tell Me More is that when you really practice it, it's not something that you quote unquote have to set aside. And now we're playing this game that we heard on the Steph and Craig show. It just becomes a way of life and a way of communicating and an ability to kind of drop into those moments whenever you need it. So it's a really good muscle to practice and a really good skill set to develop. So go check out that episode. Yeah. It's a couple back. Like I said, it's Tell Me More. I can't remember everything that we titled it, but Tell Me More. Go check that out. Also, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. Support the podcast, share the podcast, tell people about the podcast, rate the podcast. Do all of these things because it helps the podcast grow. And the more people that we can reach with the podcast, the bigger guests we get to have come on the show, the more that we get to bring to you. All of these things, right? We're a month and a half into this new podcast and we're super excited and we're having a really, really good time. And we need some help.
Yeah.
And the way that you can help is by just simply sharing it and subscribing to it. And if you haven't already, come hang out with us on YouTube. I don't know why I say it come hang out with us. We're not there right now on YouTube, by the way. The podcast is there. I'm getting squirreled. Subscribe to the show on podcast. Expect the best.
Plan for the greatest.
We'll see you guys soon.
Got a wild ride. Wait and see, you and me. We were meant to be.
We want to make something perfectly clear. This podcast is presented for educational and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to be used as a substitute for professional advice. We're sharing with you our own personal insights and experiences, things that we have found to be helpful and healing on our journey. But we are not licensed therapists. If you need help, it's important to seek out a qualified professional. Remember, we believe we all do better when we heal together. See you soon.